The chandelier-lit ballroom smelled like roses and money. Every surface gleamed, every laugh was carefully measured, every guest dressed as if wealth's were a uniform. At the center of it all sat Eleanor Whitmore, 84 years old, one of the richest women in America, her presence commanding silence without asking for it. People called her Grandma Whitmore in magazines, as if the nickname soft or edgiest, but those who knew her knew better. Eleanor Whitmore didn't bend, she didn't break. She had built a billion-dollar legacy with discipline, precision, and an iron heart the world believed had never cracked. Tonight was another charity gala, another cause, another speech she would give about hope, opportunity, and the future. Applause would come on cue. Checks would be written. Lives would change somewhere far away. That was the plan. Then a young black girl walked past her table. She was small, maybe 13. Her dress was simple and clearly second-hand, hem-stitched too long. Her shoes were polished but worn. She looked out of place, like a quiet note in a loud song. She was one of the scholarship finalists invited to attend, standing with the other students near the edge of the room. But it wasn't the girl that made Eleanor freeze. It was the necklace around her neck. A thin, faded gold chain. A tiny oval pendant, hand-etched with a barely visible flower. Eleanor's hand stopped mid-air. Fork trembling. Her breath vanished. The ballroom blurred. "No!" she whispered, barely audible. Her heart slammed against her ribs, loud and painful. She stared as if seeing a ghost. The girl laughed softly at something another student said, unaware that her necklace had just shattered an 80-year-old woman's world. Eleanor's assistant leaned close. "Mrs. Whitmore, are you all right?" Eleanor didn't answer. Her eyes were locked. She stood abruptly. Her chair screeched against the marble floor. Conversations faltered. Heads turned. "Eleanor, someone called? Is everything okay?" She walked forward, steps unsteady, her polished composure cracking with every pace. She stopped in front of the girl. The girl stiffened, eyes wide. "I'm sorry, ma'am," she said quickly. "I didn't mean to be in the way." Eleanor's voice shook. "Your necklace." The girl instinctively touched it. "What about it? Where'd you get it?" Eleanor asked, tears already filling her eyes. The girl hesitated. "It was my grandma's. She gave it to my mom, and my mom gave it to me before she passed." The room went silent. Eleanor let out a sound that wasn't quite a cry and wasn't quite a laugh. Her knees buckled. Gasps rippled through the guests as the most powerful woman in the room dropped to the floor.
"Oh my God!"
Eleanor sobbed. After all this time, she reached out, fingers trembling, and gently held the pendant between her thumb and forefinger. "I made this," she whispered. "I made this with my own hands." The girl's eyes filled with panic. I didn't steal it, I promise." Eleanor looked up at her, eyes red and overflowing. "Oh no, sweetheart," she said, her voice breaking. "You brought it back? To me?" She stood slowly and pulled the girl into a tight hug, one filled with years of grief, regret, and longing. The girl froze, then melted into the embrace. "What's your name?" Eleanor asked softly. "Amara," the girl whispered. Eleanor smiled through tears. "Beautiful. Your grandmother's name was Ruth." Amara pulled back, shocked. "You knew her?" Eleanor nodded, unable to speak for a moment. "She was the love of my life," Eleanor finally said, "and the bravest woman I ever knew." The assistant tried to intervene. "Mrs. Whitmore? The board, they can wait?" Eleanor said sharply. "Everything can wait." She guided Amara to her. Taybone sat her down beside her, holding her hand like she was afraid to let go. "Tell me about Ruth," Eleanor said. Amara smiled sadly. "She raised my mom by herself. She worked in a factory for years, then cleaned houses. She used to tell me stories about a girl she loved once, a girl who taught her how to dream bigger." Eleanor covered her mouth, tears spilling freely. "Was me?" she whispered. The room listened, breath held. As Eleanor spoke words she hadn't said aloud in decades. "We met in college," Eleanor said. "She was bold, smart, funny. I was scared of everything. Loving her felt like flying and falling at the same time." She laughed softly, but the world wasn't ready for us. Interracial love. To women. The threats came quickly. Amara listened, eyes locked on her. "My parents said they would cut me off." Her family feared for her life. "One night, Ruth gave me that necklace and told me to remember her when I became someone important." Eleanor swallowed hard. "I chose safety. She chose survival. And we lost each other." Amara whispered. "She never stopped loving you." Eleanor closed her eyes. "I searched for her later, but she was gone. I thought she'd forgotten me." "Didn't," Amara said firmly. "She said love doesn't disappear. It waits." Eleanor broke completely then, sobbing openly in front of donors, executives, and politicians who had never seen her vulnerable. "I built an empire," Eleanor said, "but I was empty." She turned to Amara. "Why are you here tonight?" "They said I was nominated for a scholarship," Amara said. "I didn't think I'd get it." Eleanor stood and faced the room. "This young woman," she said, voice strong despite the tears, "is not just a finalist. She is family." Murmurs filled the ballroom. Eleanor knelt before Amara again. "If you allow me," she said gently. I would like to be part of your life. Amara hesitated. I don't have anyone left. Eleanor smiled softly. Neither did I until tonight. Weeks later, as a story made headlines. Billionaire finds lost love through granddaughter's necklace. But what cameras didn't capture were the quiet moments. Eleanor attending Amara's school plays, helping with homework, laughing freely for the first time in decades, teaching Amara about resilience, about choices, about forgiveness. Amara wore the necklace every day, not as jewelry, but as proof. One night, as they sat watching the sunset, Amara asked, Do you regret anything? Eleanor thought for a long moment. I regret letting fear decide my life, she said. But I don't regret loving Ruth. Love is never the mistake. Amara leaned her head on Eleanor's shoulder. The past had stolen time from them, but love had returned, in an unexpected form, to heal what fear once broke. And the moral of the story was simple and powerful. Love never truly disappears. It survives generations, defies fear, and finds its way back. If your heart is open enough to recognize it. Sometimes, the miracle you've been waiting for walks quietly into the room, wearing a simple necklace, carrying a legacy of love that time could never erase.